Right, we'll try again. Sorry about that. Not thinking this morning, eh? Had the camera the wrong way round. Then I put the camera the wrong way round again. Anyway, hey Facebook, how you doing? Yeah, thanks for answering some of my questions this morning. I woke up feeling very perplexed. Bit of a heavy sigh, as I'm sure I'm not the only one. Ups and downs, isn't it? Ups and downs. But yeah, had some great ideas. Just had a run, and yeah, started off. I always recommend whenever you're feeling a bit down, which is going to happen during the whole COVID-19 episode we're suffering. If you do go out for a run, just take the run easy to start off. Ease yourself into it. I mean, you should do with most runs anyway, unless it's a race or you're particularly going for a PB. But just ease yourself into it. So I was planning my run today, and the first 2 miles it took for me just to calm down and stop sighing. As I've kind of said before, I use a playlist to control this. I've got so many playlists in Spotify based on how I'm feeling and how I want the music to guide my runs. So I kind of play some kind of rock ballads as my go-to for getting a bit of energy and timing, but still not kind of going for it too much. And then once after 2 miles, I felt it all happening a little bit, and I felt a bit more positive. Then what normally happens is you're glad to be alive again, glad to be a bit more positive, and yeah, then I flick my playlist over, and then it gets a little bit heavier, and it turned into Motley Crue repeats today, which was very nice. So thank you Tommy Lee and Mick Mars and Nikki Sixx and Vince Neil for keeping me going. It was just switching it on through the choruses. I played this song about 3 times through, so there you go. That was my run this morning, and I'm feeling a bit more positive, but it's still, my heart goes out, and I want to support anybody who is feeling a little bit down because of this COVID-19, or just going through the cycles of, oh, everything's really great, this is fantastic, I'm sunbathing and I haven't got to go to work and it's fantastic, and then the next morning it's like, oh shit, what am I doing? Is this going to be the same in 3 weeks time, 4 weeks time? So I think cycles are to be expected. Anyway, so that's how we're going. Right, so before we start today's topic, which in the end is going to be shoes, I'll explain why I chose shoes in a second. Let's just say hello to some of the wonderful people who are in here today. So Leanne and Marie Garner, how you doing? Nice to see you again. Kirstine Herbert's in the house. Hi Kirstine, morning to you. Simon's in. Thanks Simon for that suggestion. It was that and something else I'll explain in a sec, which made me suddenly think, yeah, shoes, because I get tired of shoes. But that's part of what I'll talk about in a sec. Daniel, how you doing, mate? Glad you enjoyed your cycle the other day. Great feeling here to get that out. Not that I ever touch a bicycle. I did it once, London to Brighton, and that was it. But I can appreciate that it was nice for you. Listen, Scott, how you doing? Paolo Marighetto, how are you? Anita and Jade and Tajal and Leslie Lewis, how you doing? Hope you are well. So anyway, let's cut to the chase. Shoes. What did I say? The why, when, how, what? I'm keen today to have you guys actually write in the comments what shoes you wear, why you wear them, how you chose them, or did someone choose them for you? Do you wear different shoes for different purposes? Like, have you got your fast pair of shoes, your flat pair of shoes, your race shoes, you got your off-road shoes, your on-road shoes? Have you got your do you just decide to rotate shoes? Have you got your Monday shoes, your Tuesday shoes and your Wednesday shoes? What system kind of works for you? I'm really keen to know, because that will help me bounce off and maybe make some comments based on my own personal experience, but also it'll open up to ideas and probably show how we all choose shoes for different reasons and how we all find success for different reasons too. So I'm thinking today, that's what I'm hoping for, is share your shoes, tell us what you wear, and big up what your favourite shoes are. It might just be the colour. Hey, there's whole papers on that as well. In fact, I'm not sure if it was actually Simon Spooner who's in the house today who actually did some study on colours. Oh, you did coloured inserts, didn't you, into orthotic devices and colours? Yeah, so there is something about colours there, and I'm sure the manufacturers know as well. Yeah, that's why seasons change. which is a Motley Crue song as well. But no, let's get away from Motley Crue. But yeah, that's why they produce their colours. It's not just, oh, let's go with a pink and green slash this year. No, they've done a lot more work into it than that. So anyway, I would like you to hey Jack Chew as well, how you doing, mate? I hope you're with the twins. Give them a hug for me. The beard doesn't fit on the screen anymore. I know, my wife hates it. I'll tell you what, Jack, while we're on the subject of beards, first of all, thank you to the Brighton beard company.co.uk for sponsoring Runchatlive, home of the best grooming supplements in the world, your oils, balms. Just because you're isolated doesn't mean you can't look good. Back to our normal programming now. I even gave myself a, look at that. Has anybody else given themselves a home cut haircut? Look at that. Oh my God. I don't know what drove me to it last night in the bathroom with the clippers. Gee, not even clippers, beard trimmers. Oh well. I'm sure it's the least crazy thing that people have done in isolation at the moment. But anyway, yes, Jack, I had to promise my wife that if the Runchatlive Conference 2020 actually goes through and works, and is if it happens, then I have on film, she was recording me, I said that for Christmas dinner 2020, I will be clean shaven. I know. Yeah, it's something I had to say to her last night. There's too many conversations going on when you're stuck in the house together. But yeah, that was my promise. If we're out of this mess, and Runchatlive conference on 29th and 30th of October actually takes place, and it's as good as I'm hoping it will be, we'll be rubbing elbows and listening to some fantastic speakers with all you guys down there, then fine. On Christmas, the 25th December, I will be clean shaven. Anyway, so I've just said it again live. Anyway, right, so Joe Addison says never. I promised her, I said on camera, but it's a win-win because I want Runchatlive conference to happen and to work, because it's kind of keeping me going, and also my wife will be really happy, and happy wife, happy life. So it's kind of, I can't lose, and it grows back. There's so much testosterone in my body. As you well know, Joe Addison, well, no, that sounded really wrong. You've also got high levels of testosterone in your body. You haven't got my testosterone in your body. That's a whole another scenario. But yeah, it grows, doesn't it? Hey, it grows. Just look at, well, Mike James. It's taking a little bit slow for Mike James to build his beard up anyway. Fuck, what am I talking about? Right, okay, hey David, hey Jessica, hey Neil Morgan. Oh right, we started mentioning shoes, so we'll come back to Neil's in a sec. Fine. Right, why I chose shoes. I sometimes worry that just preaching to the converted with shoes, and I say this a few times, overpronunciation, blah blah blah, but every time I do, this morning when I was looking for topics to talk about, I was hanging out in the running community, which is a place which they kind of allow me to post things, and it's nice because not many running communities do. They have like a black and white kind of strict rule of as soon as you mention anything you're doing, then we kick you out. But they've kind of let me promote some stuff and kind of just try and answer some questions. And so I do have a little scroll through there to see what runners are complaining about and worrying about. And damn it, she's still running. I was using her for my intervals. I was speeding past her, and then she was going past me, and I was going past her, and she's still running, and I'm talking to you lot. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I'll get over it. Yeah, so and I went into the running community, and there was someone talking about, oh yeah, that was it. It was, a question was, she says, I really need to get some new shoes, but because of isolation I can't go to a running shop to get my gait analysed, so I've taken a video of myself running in my garden. I want you to look at it and see if you can tell what shoes I need. So that just kind of like set my lights off, and I kind of sat up in bed and thought, I'll put my glasses on. I thought, right, that's worth a read. And you know what, it was kind of nice because out of the 16 comments I saw, it was quite fresh. This was like about 7 in the morning. That's when I go onto Facebook to see if anyone's talking about running shoes. And yes, out of 16 people, at least 6 or 7 were saying, don't worry about overpronation. Yes, your left ankle looks like it's kind of moving in more than the other one, but unless it's not broken, then don't try fixing it. Ignore this and that, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, this is really happening quite nicely. This is good. There were, of course, another 10 who were saying, oh, you're overpronating, oh, you're doing this and doing that, or you need this, or you need a support shoe and all that. But the fact that there were 6 out of those 16 who were saying forget about overpronation, was, I thought, this is, to me, it felt like quite a positive thing, and I put it in there. Probably came across as a right idiot, just saying well done you 6 who actually kind of answered in a little bit more of an evidence-based way. But one of the people gave a link to, is it sportsshoes.com? What's the kind of cheap sports shoes? I think it's sportsshoes.com. To their link of how to choose what shoes you want. And yeah, then that's it. Then I really sat up, because they're still friggin' got a wet foot test. They're still talking about, depending on what imprint your foot leaves when you stand with wet feet on a bit of cardboard, decides what shoes you need. And I was like, really? And I checked the year. Was I looking at an old cached page or something? But no, this is still out there. I think it was sportsshoes.com, I don't know. And I name them because it's just friggin' disgusting that they still put this information on there, because it's like, forget it. You should go down the same road as people have been sued for, particular companies that have been sued for making these claims. Because we know now, we've got to get over that. We know now that the shape of your foot, especially when you're standing still on a wet bit of cardboard, has very little to do with the shape of your foot when you're actually moving and running and hopping from leg to leg. They're totally different. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? And we also know that the shape of your foot has very little to do with what type of shoe, in theory, typically gets sold in shops anyway. We know that for every person who, for instance, looks like their arch is dropping however much too much is, however many people we put in a motion control shoe, we know that 50% may get a benefit, it seems, 50% probably don't. And out of that, actually, some of them actually become worse than before. So we can get rid of that whole paradigm of choosing shoes according to what your arches look like, especially to the naked eye. It's just undone. And if it's news to anyone at all, then what you need to do is you need to just go through some back catalogues of either myself or Ian Griffiths is always a go-to person, Simon Bartold, more, I was going to say younger podiatrists then, but that kind of makes Simon and Ian sound a bit old, which they're not. But people who I've discovered a bit later in my career, people like Nick Knight are saying really great things out there. And even Simon Spooner in here. I'm sure if you looked through some of the things that he's been involved in, you get the same message. Check out Podchatlive, check out the debates those guys have. And yeah, nail it, get rid of it, dismiss it. It's gone. Don't choose shoes according to whether you have low arches, high arches, or somewhere beautifully in the middle. It's not. It doesn't make sense. Okay, done. That out of the way. How do we choose shoes? Dun dun dun. Right. At this point, I want to scroll through and see if any of you have given me a reason why you chose the shoes that work for you. Let me just have a little check. Because you know what? Your answer is probably as good as mine when it comes to why do you choose the shoes you choose. Neil Morgan wears Brooks Adrenaline, my favs. And Brooks Adrenaline, if my memory serves me right, are kind of the go-to. Are they still sold as a neutral shoe? Brooks are normally quite good. They don't mention the word overpronation on their website at all. They actually have some quite interesting tests for you to do at home. I mean, it's all debatable because we just don't know yet why some runners get injured in some shoes and others don't. It's just tricky, but books make you think a little bit. They talk about what distance you're doing. Are you running off-road, on-road? I think they ask what's your fastest time and stuff like that. All the sort of questions which actually make a bit more sense than what does your foot look like on a soggy bit of cardboard when you get out of the bath. But yeah, Neil, so why Brooks Adrenaline? Is it just because you tried them on and they work for you? Why were they initially given to you? Is there any other factors about the shoe which you think favour you compared to other shoes? I don't know what size feet you got, or what kind of, whether you got wide feet, narrow feet. What works for you? Why? It's another little look through. Oh, Simon says here, paper just out showed red inserts compared to identical white orthoses resulted in greater comfort. So red ones were perceived as more comfortable. Kinetic differences, as in changes in the forces, but no difference in kinematics, so no changes in actual motion involved in the movement. And that was by Wang et al. Right, so yeah, the power of colour. Definitely something to, I'm sure, shoe companies. I wonder if Nike, I have to ask Alex Hutchinson actually, I wonder if Nike, how did Nike decide on the colour they chose for the Breaking 2 and all of that? I wonder, because they looked at everything. If you haven't seen the interview I had with Alex Hutchinson, Runchatlive, whatever number it was, or indeed just read his books and his blogs, the things that Nike tried to get that shoe were just incredible. I don't know if you saw the podcast, forgive me if you did, but Alex was talking about how he witnessed elite athletes who had their arms strapped down to their sides because they saw on paper that maybe the arms were wasting energy and reducing economy. So they put runners out there on the track with their arms actually in kind of a straitjacket and took various measurements to see if that worked. They also put runners in, they had this idea that maybe shoes need to be as light as possible. So initially, Alex was explaining, they took away the heel completely. They had these weird kind of like slip-on shoes with no heel at all to make it as light as possible, and they stuck some elites out in that to see how it worked in that. And I think in both cases of the shoe and the straitjacket, the elites just stopped halfway and just said, we're not running in this is absolutely ridiculous. But Nike tried everything to find the perfect shoe, and the fact they were trying all this is kind of testimony to we really don't know. Okay, Nike seems to have stumbled upon a great combination. We're still not sure which weighs more favourably, but as you will gather if you listen to, I think Runchatlive have done some excellent talks on this with Alex and other people, but we're not quite sure what factors are there. But Nike basically had to go through an awful lot of interesting experiments to decide on a shoe. But anyway, so yeah, colour. I wonder whether colour played an influence on them. Right, let me just scroll down a bit. Kirstine Herbert, hey Kirstine, says, I have one road pair, which are Brooks Levitate. Off-road she wears her Ultras, Saucony Peregrine. Mainly just got ones in the sales or freebies from a local running store. Don't pay more than £60 for trainers. There we go. I wonder how many people out there do actually choose their shoes according to what's in the sale. I think it's probably a major factor is money, especially when in Amazon. And I love the idea of supporting local stores, but Amazon now have got, like, especially got Prime, try them on, send them back, like 30 days to send them back. I mean, it can't be beaten. Really, I've always kind of said, and this is what made me unpopular with quite a few running shops, is to find the right shoe, you do really need to take it with you and test it out a little bit and try it and see how it goes. And it's only after then you can tell whether it's going to be the shoe for you. That's not a good business model, is it? Especially if they come back all muddy and horrible. But yeah, in theory, I normally recommend to people that if you do try on a pair of shoes, because to cut a long story short, we know that the only factor which seems to dictate whether a shoe is good for you or not is comfort. That's kind of all we can go by, and it kind of makes sense. And what's comfortable for one person is different than for someone else. That introduces that subjectivity, which kind of shows that one pair of shoes might suit one runner but not another runner. But yeah, basically if you buy a pair of shoes and it doesn't work for you, if you have got the option of sending them back, then happy days. But if you buy cheap shoes, I would just stick them in your wardrobe, because chances are later on down the line, as you get stronger as a runner and more versatile and start experimenting with different activities, like maybe you start intervals or start doing some hill training, or maybe I don't know, you take up something different, then those shoes in the wardrobe, as long as they didn't cost much more than 40-50 quid, they might be the shoes for you, just because you got stronger. So we'll talk about rotating shoes in a bit and having a few pairs of shoes in your wardrobe. Yeah, I try not to chuck. Well, actually, I do send shoes back because I know what I like. But if you're not quite sure what you like, keep them for a while. Right, anyone else? Just reminding you, if you've got a pair of shoes that you like, tell me why you bought them. What factors made you decide to get those shoes, and what do you think about the shoe that actually makes them work for you? What is it? What is it? What else we got? Leslie Lewis says she's on Cloud Flyer Roads, road running as little as possible. Scott Kimbaloo, Super Track, and Peregrines off-road and occasionally innovate rock lights. So why, Leslie? I mean, you're a hugely experienced runner. What is it about those shoes that you think suits you? Have you discovered what it is, or have you discovered other shoes with a different characteristic, and then you've realised down the line, oh right, these don't fit me because, okay? I mean, one factor for me personally, okay, so I'm an example of fairly unique in the sense that I've got UK 14 size feet, so straight away I'm kind of a little bit limited as to what I can buy. Definitely in shops, forget it. Even online. So for me, Innovates used to go to UK 14, so I was all very much into Innovates, and then they stopped. Which way is the wind going? I'm worried about a bit of wind here. It needs to be that way, doesn't it? There we go. Then Mizuno's, they do a nice 14, so I've got quite a few Mizuno's. And then New Balance, I realised, do UK 14, so I got into them. As to which shoe, what qualities of the shoe, what variety or model of the shoe suited me, didn't make much difference. I just bought the UK 14 and then used it for either a fast run or like if I was doing a marathon distance, and that would be my marathon shoe. So for me, it was just UK 14s. Amazon Prime, boom, what's there? I'll get it. Thank you very much. So yeah, Leslie, let me know, why did you choose those shoes? Anna's in the house, Nick's in the house. Daniel Gerber, the colours were partly tongue-in-cheek. What feels beat? What's that referring to, Nike? I don't know. Is it any coincidence that Elites kind of like their gold, yellow shoes? And I don't know, but then pink came along, didn't it? And kind of threw it on its head. I have no idea. Adam's here. Ian's, oh wow, Ian Griffiths is here. Hey Ian, how you doing? I've been talking about you. I'm sorry I called you old, okay? Is that what someone told you? You're not old, obviously, nor Simon Bartold. I was just saying that I've known about, followed you and Bartold for much longer than some of the more youthful, no, not more youthful, just some of the Nick Knight people, you know what I mean? Anyway, you're not old, Ian, you're very young. I've seen pictures of you, you look very young. Leslie Lewis, running shoes, cheap, there you go. Money is a dictator. Penny's in the house. Lisa Neiman's watching. Hey Lisa, how you doing? Mike James is here as well. Mike has got something. Hey bearded wonder. Can't stop. It's the little man's 5th birthday. We'll watch later. Much love. Mike, keep going with the beard, mate. I show you to my wife every night before we go to bed. I show you a picture of Mike James for various reasons, but the main reason at the moment is because your beard's growing back. There you go, and good to see it as well. Mike, that last thing you put online, was that a home cut? I don't know whether it was an old video or whether you actually clipped the sides of your hair, because I just saw it and did the same thing. Didn't quite work as well, but I was very impressed that was a self haircut, Mike. Or have you got a hairdresser in the family? Don't know. Anyway, Michelle Rose is watching. Hey Michelle. Jessica Ruddy Chambers says, I pick my shoes based on the level of comfort I've had. Ones in the past that were specific to my foot still, but they caused more injuries than helped. Okay, so you would diagnose shoes, excuse me. You would diagnose shoes where you, Jessica, what, based on your arch height or something? Was it kind of the traditional model? And you found that you got more injuries. Oh, of course it was. There's Jessica from Bikes and Laces. I was thinking, I recognise that name. How you doing, Jessica? Oh right, yeah, so you discovered the old prescribed version of the old traditional system of prescribing shoes didn't work for you. It's important to remember that sometimes the reason why these old models do still work is because for 50% of the population they do work, because it's like flipping a coin. You could belong to the Church of Heads simply because every time you flip the coin it kind of goes to heads more than tails, but it doesn't mean that there is a head god. But anyway, I've got a clue what I'm talking about now. Stuart's in the house, Steve's in the house. Neil Morgan says he chose his Brooks, what were you on? Adrenalines, when he support and stability, but just always being comfortable. Sadly, like many other brands, they're changing them more and more now. I went to Run in Hove. Oh, la la, we love Run in Hove. Years ago, never looked back. Yep, good old Kurt and Fred, French Fred. I'm sure Fred used to sell shoes because of his accent. He was a very wise investment by Kurt. I think that you look great in these shoes. It was, yeah, I'll buy them there. Not me, but I know other people were very appreciative of his French accent. Daniel Gerber says Brooks Pure Cadence for road. They were cheap. NB. Oh, New Balance 10 out of 10s for tri-loose trails. Had 20 pairs of them. Last pair now, and a more mild, heavy lugged shoes. Yeah, off-road and on-road, it's kind of, it's interesting, isn't it? When we go off-road, suddenly you can buy what you want. Maybe it is because there's obviously more variability when you're running over ground, but it's only when you're going on a road shoe that suddenly we need these motion control shoes, or we need these kind of cushion shoes, or we need these neutral shoes. And if you go off road and you go to a running shop, oh wait, we want, no, I think, but anyway, there's a lot to be said for that. Sarah Sawyer's in the house. The person whose name I can never pronounce is in Arabic who in the house. I'm going to call you John. Hi John. I don't know, I'll wave to you and you can tell me how to say your name in phonetics, then I'll be able to say hi to you when you come in. Hey Ruth, hey Sarah, hey Rody, hey Jean, hey Noosa, hey Joe. Daniel says most of my shoes have a wide toe box. Wide toe box, I was waiting for someone to say that. This is a really big factor for a lot of people. Not everyone, but for a lot of people, traditional shoes they're just not wide enough at the toe box. Okay, the role of the toes, particularly the big toe, is paramount for a lot of people in running and mechanics of it. And a lot of these traditional shoes, they cramp those toes, they cramp those toes together. A lot of people find the comfort factor and their performance seems to get better by going for a shoe with a wider toe box. I certainly do, but then I got kipper feet. It gives happy feet. I don't like sock type shoes. I tend to dorsiflex toe if I don't have the room. This results in my big toe coming through the top. Yeah, we see a lot of runners in clinic who have got telltale signs of wearing out uppers on the shoes, and it kind of, you know, it's a good sign that you need to experiment a little bit. Often, yeah, wider toe box. Yeah, it's an important one. I was waiting for someone to say that. Jessica has come back with a hey, yeah, they did it based on my gait analysis, but it didn't work out for me. I'm in cheaper shoes now, but prescribed insoles whilst trying to sort my ankle. Okay, Jessica, well, so prescribed insoles, that's kind of the same. An insert just changes the dynamics of a shoe in different ways, but out of interest, how has your insole been prescribed for you? Do you know what they're trying to do? Did they tell you? Or did they not? I'm interested in knowing. What did they give you? And who gave you it? Emma's in the house. Hey Emma, physio mum, how you doing? Really looking forward to having a chat with Emma on, I don't know the date, I can't remember now, but Emma's going to be a guest at last on Runchatlive. I think it's June the 18th or something like that. I'm going to put out a list soon of all the podcast guests coming up, because Emma's going to be there and I'm really excited about that, for women's health and female runners, and for guys to know about female runners as well. I remember back in the day, one of the earlier Runchatlive episodes, with Tina Muir. It was with Tina, where she was talking about amenorrhea, and talking about how a lot of excuse me, a lot of male coaches don't know enough about female runners and women's health to be able to ask the right questions, or there's taboo questions. There was a case today, actually. I don't know what again, I was thinking it was the running community. There was a question, you would have been proud of me actually, Emma. There was a question put by one of the runners there, saying that she's getting like a numbness and a pain in her coccyx, and it starts from the lower back and kind of radiates down, and she's not quite sure what it is. And the comments were like, you need to do single leg lifts of the legs, you need to do more crunches, you need to do this and that, try some glute strengthening. And straight away when I hear about numbness, pain in the lower back, saddle region kind of, I was like, well, no one's obviously asking her, and this is the danger of running communities, no one's asking her about problems with going to the toilet or saddle seat pain, obviously looking at a Claudia Keener situation. So I wasn't sure whether to ask her in private, hey, you know, is it the sort of thing you ask in a public forum? Are you having pain when you go to the toilet or during sex? Or is it something that you ask in a private message? I decided in the end to actually put it in the public forum, and just said, hey, the most important question here is, are you going through any sort of pain when you go to the toilet? And are you getting any numbness in the saddle region at all? I didn't mention, is it hurt when you have sex? I thought it was a bit at the top. But I felt it was an example of where these things do need to be talked about in a public forum. And I said, if you want to answer me in private, then that's fine, which is just a couple of red flags we need to rule out. just put it in there. But I was conscious of, it was interesting, I wanted the other runners to kind of go, what the hell is he asking this woman about? Is she having pain going to the toilet? What's that got to do with anything? She just needs to do some V sit-ups or something. But I thought, no. Runners and forms need to know that you can miss things out if you just ask your mates. Sometimes you do need to ask somebody who's a bit more trained in it, or just trained in it. But anyway, there you go. Watch out for Runchatlive episode, podcast, live chat with Emma Brockwell coming up. I think it's in June. Ruth Farnell, I wear men's Saucony. Oh, this is interesting. See, yes. Do women have to wear women's trainers and men have to wear men's trainers? What's that all about? I've never really understood that. So Ruth, thank you for that. Ruth says, I wear men's Saucony because I've square feet. Everyone is different though. I wish the manufacturers would stick with the shape because this year's model isn't quite right, which I stockpiled. Yeah, that's something else which really pisses me off as well. Damn it, YouTube are going to get flagged up again. But yeah, that's annoying. First of all, it's annoying that they do change the models, don't they, every year to make it slightly different, and you always think, why didn't I buy 3 of those when it was on Amazon or something? It is frustrating. But yeah, so Ruth, how did that happen? Did you suddenly think one day I might try the men's version, or did you read it somewhere? I mean, it's a great example of just breaking the boundaries and not thinking you have to stick to what the manufacturers make you. A lot of female runners are much happier in the men's versions of the shoes, but it's only through trial and error they discover it. But I'm interested, Ruth. How did you come across that? How did you discover that? Leslie Lewis says, all the shoes I've ever loved have ended up being discontinued. Yeah, it's a pain in the arse, isn't it? It's a shame. Why change it if it's... I don't know. Yeah, it's a shame. Jenny Ann Dexter, hello. Omar, hello. Jenny Ann Dexter says, I'm so late to the party today. I'm coming up. I had left foot Achilles issues and a friend suggested putting lifts in the heel of that shoe. It seemed to help, and the theory of lifting the heel makes some sort of Seymour. So what would you say? Yeah, that's one of the things we can play around with, Jenny, depending on the type of Achilles issue you're suffering from. But as soon as you put anything in a shoe, it's going to change the way that forces are transmitted when you run. We can't get rid of running forces. There's always going to be forces from the ground travelling up through your leg, and it's those forces which indeed help you get stronger, or if misdirected or they're too strong, will end up in injury. But one of the things we can play around with in some cases is, yes, changing the angle of your foot, increasing the drop by putting something under your heel. That means that in theory the Achilles isn't having to lengthen as much when you run, so it's not going to irritate it. It's going to change the forces it's experiencing and the load it's having to transmit. So yeah, but again, it's trial and error. It doesn't always work for everyone, but it's one of the things we play around with if you see a therapist, and it's one of the things if you're having online consultation that should be suggested to you in certain circumstances. Try this, see how it goes. There's no black and white with all these things, but it's definitely a go-to attempt if you're suffering from Achilles problems. So definitely worth trying. John, how you doing? John Grindrod. Jessica Raddy Chambers is back. Oh, there's no hey now, Jessica. I'm feeling left. You can't start a sentence with that hey. So I'm going to put it in. Hey, we're testing raising the arch of the foot to see if it can strengthen the arched foot and helps reduce the amounts of times my ankle knocks out of place. We're also strengthening the ankle, but the insoles help too. Cool. I love the word testing. Testing, sensing if. So it's all about with shoes. Test if. There's no definites. So it sounds like you're in good hands there. Usama, Jim Gear, how you doing, Jim? Because I still haven't looked your name up. What is your real name, Jim? Just let me know so I don't keep calling you Jim. Unless it is Jim. Maybe it is Jim with Jim Gear. Daniel says, it used to be said women had narrow feet and heels, so needed shoes made for that. I'm not sure that's necessarily true. I don't think it's true. I mean, I love when I'm teaching A&P in class and I get to talking about the heart, and I love it. I've normally got a room full of women, depending on the course they're studying, and obviously we have a big laugh about the fact that most men have bigger hearts than women. When was the last time you saw a woman running up to a man with a bunch of flowers? But obviously we know that men only have bigger hearts because typically men are bigger than women, but there's plenty of women who are bigger than men and will have bigger hearts. So yeah, I think these generalizations don't help that much. I'm not sure all women have narrow feet and heels, do they? I don't know. Not Ruth, she's got square feet. Jim, Russell, thank you, Jim. I won't call you Jim anymore, it's Russell. All right, Russell. So where are we? Yeah, keep them coming in. I want to hear about your reasons why you've chosen the shoes you wear. Hopefully what's coming from the conversation is that it's all very much trial and error. Fortunately, because of no one's actually mentioned I wear minimalistic shoes. It's interesting that there was a time, wasn't there, where everyone would wear as least shoe as possible and have 5 fingers and on their feet and stuff. But we now know that's kind of, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all, is it? And it depends on what type of run you are having. Generally speaking, if you're doing a shorter, faster run, then you kind of want less shoe and less structure there, but it's not always the case. It depends on how your body deals with the loads. And one of the things that Simon was talking about when I put out the question this morning, what should we talk about, was rotating shoes. There was a paper, I can't remember now, I meant to look it up, which kind of showed that the incidence of injury amongst the population of runners they used decreased when runners were rotating shoes, i.e. not wearing the same shoe every day. And it's kind of plausible, it is, isn't it? It kind of makes sense. It fits in with this idea that if you vary the load and don't I compare, when I'm talking to runners, I compare it to using a mouse in an office. So imagine if you're clicking that mouse in the same position again and again, you get a repetitive strain syndrome. Not always, but you're setting yourself up one potentially, because the same tissues are getting loaded and loaded and loaded and loaded, and eventually just goes too much. So it kind of makes sense maybe with shoes. If you wear the same shoes and you travel the same route every day, then you're exposing your body to the same load again and again and again and again, and you might be setting yourself up for overloading. So that's maybe, that's an argument there where swap your shoes around a little bit. Expose your shoes to your feet and your body to different forces by changing the shoe. And I like that. I do that. I definitely do it with injury. I know that if I'm aching in a certain place, like if my shin starts aching, or then I know my training hasn't. I keep my training very consistent, so I rule that out of the equation. I know that sometimes to keep me running and get over this particular stage of discomfort, I can change my shoe to a more cushioned shoe or a less cushioned shoe, or more of a drop, less of a drop. And that's another reason for keeping different shoes in the house. But it was JF Asculia on one of the Runchatlive episodes I did. I can't remember the name of it, which number it was, but he was kind of saying that, again in a French accent, so it was very, very persuasive, but he was saying that if you change your shoe too much, then you're not getting that said, you're not getting that specific adaptation to an imposed demand, as in the same load again and again. You need to expose your body to the same load in order to get stronger, for those tissues to get stronger. So, and that kind of made me stop in my tracks and think, oh yes, JF's done it again. And he kind of said that it was only one paper and it hasn't been reproduced since. So don't assume that, you could, for some people, changing your shoes too often could mean that you don't get stronger as a runner, because you're not exposing your body to the same loads. Maybe it's possible, but again it just leads us down the same road, doesn't it? One size doesn't fit all. I think as an injury management thing, changing the shoe can help a lot, but then also just changing the type of terrain you're running on can often help. Although again, we know some people are more inclined to increase injury risk if they run on road, some people if they run off-road. Do we all have to be great at doing everything? This is something we'll talk about with Todd Hargrove on Thursday on Runchatlive podcast. I'll be talking to Todd about his 2019 book, Playing with Movement. One of the things he very much is an expert about is about whether we need variability for fitness. Should we all be trying to be good at everything, or what does it mean when you say I'm the fittest? Things. This will all enter in the conversation. I'm going to try and pin Todd down because I know he runs a bit himself, and see what it means for runners. So do join us for that 8 o'clock GMT on this Thursday, the 30th of April. But yeah, for a lot of runners, mixing it up is a good answer to get overall fitness, but not for all. So it depends. Guess what? It depends. Right, I'm running out of breath and I'm getting a bit chilly, and I know my wife needs me home for the kids, so we might wrap it up there. I'm just going to check if anyone else has said anything about why they choose the shoes they do. Leslie, I know that's coming. Actually, running shoes are cheap. Let me just scroll down to see if I've missed any words of wisdom from other people. That was Ruth. Oh, Ruth says, hi, Carl at Run. Another shout out for Carl. I remember Carl when I was young. Carl must be the same age as me, I'm sure. But he was probably running when he was 13 or 14. But anyone else living in Brighton and Hove will probably remember Carl from Run. Great guy, and he used to have really, really long dreads, like down to his lower back. And he was always running along Dyke Road to get up to the Downs, but like every day. And I remember, I suppose I must have been 15, 16, because I didn't start running till I was about 20, 21. But I remember always just looking at this guy, this black guy with these dreads down his back, shining away in the sun, ripped to bits as he ran his way up to the Downs. This was going back some years when there weren't so many people running everywhere. So yeah, that was Carl. But anyway, Carl, he hasn't got quite so much hair now, but hey, Carl at Run put me onto using men's. Good stuff. Yeah, brilliant. I like Run for that reason. Thinking outside the box. I just couldn't get enough toe space. Need to use additional lace holes to stop foot slipping down. That's another area, isn't it? You can change a shoe by the way you lace things up, and that's another story for another day. But changing the lacing can transform your shoe. NB, I also buy teenage boys. What? Oh no, there's more to that. Sorry, Ruth. I need to scroll up. I need to scroll up a little bit. I just saw NB, I also buy teenage boys. I also buy teenage boys, scroll up, running stuff, because no VAT and proper pockets. Brilliant. I'm glad I scrolled up then. You seem to experiment wonderfully, Ruth, and it works for you. Russell from Jim Gear, Saucony Kinvara, neutral shoe with minimal support, very comfy, that's the big word, and I use them for all of my running. I signed off the London Marathon training plan with a kilometre around my village in Shetland today. Well done. Sounds lovely where you live, Russell. Neil Morgan, is the 400-mile change of shoes advice a myth? Let's finish up with that. When do you have to throw your shoes away? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, there's so much it depends, isn't there? I mean, in theory, if you have quite a cushioned shoe, then it's, as far as I know, it's the foam which can deteriorate through the heating up. Every time you wear the shoe, obviously the heat exchange, the foam does have a specific life until it starts losing its properties. So if that particular level of cushioning is suited to you, and then the shoe's getting old and the foam loses its qualities, then that could open you up to different forces and therefore maybe lead to injury, potentially. So that's, if you do have a structured shoe, then maybe, and that's why we always recommend that you don't kind of expose your shoes to all the heat. Definitely don't put them in the tumble dry or leave them on radiators. If you need to wash them, just do it with damp cloth and put some newspapers inside or something. The heat reduces the properties of the foam, which can change the characteristics of the shoe. If it hasn't got that much foam in it, EVA and stuff, then as far as I know, then it's just the uppers. You know, you can have a pair of shoes like my Mizunos I've had forever, and you run in them forever, but then they're very minimal shoes, so, and that eventually maybe they'll start fraying at the top. Innovates tends to last about a month, but that's Innovates for you, isn't it? Nick Knight says some stuff in here regarding the 400. Too many variables to say the blanket 400 miles, weight, running surface. Exactly. It depends. So much on the runner. It depends on what you're running on. But yeah, I think in a less structured shoe, it all very much depends on you. The foam thing's important. A lot of runners will destroy their shoes and start reducing the life of a shoe if they start trying to wash it or leave it on radiators, which is a big one. Right, gang, I'm quite cold now standing here in the shade. I feel so much better having had a little chat to all of you. Thank you as always. I'm hoping there's some interesting things here and it's stimulated you to either go out for a run or have a think about trying on some different shoes or whatever. That's the idea of them. But also it's just lovely to get a chance to talk to some people. So thank you very much for joining me. A final plug just once more, Thursday evening, 8 o'clock GMT, actually 5 minutes past 8, because obviously we'll do the clap. Join me here on Facebook Live at 8 o'clock. You can set yourself a reminder by going to the post now. I would like a lot of people and a lot of love in the house for Todd Hargrove, who is going to blow your minds with the fantastic information which he has put. I'm definitely going to ask him about his first book as well, but it's Playing with Movements is his latest book. The other one was A Guide to Better Movement. He has come from a Feldenkrais background, which is fascinating. I'll be asking him about that as well, because I went very heavily into Feldenkrais for a while with Moshe Feldenkrais, and that guy was a bit like Joseph Pilates, was coming out with some truths way ahead of their times. They were some great minds, so I want to be tapping into Todd's great mind about a previous great mind. And it'd be lovely to have some of you in the house live as well. So hopefully with this COVID-19 thing, one of the things we can do is get together a bit more live and ask some questions. So Thursday 8 o'clock or 8:05 GMT, April 30th, with Todd Hargrove on Facebook Live. We'll be recording it, talking for an hour. Do come and ask him some questions. Right, that's it people, thank you very much. I feel totally more animated. I'm off home to be with my family. Take care and look after each other and your own.